You're listening to the Clutter Fairy Weekly, a weekly webcast and podcast brought to you by the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas. If you'd like to participate in one of our live webcasts, please visit cfhou.com/weekly. You'll find a calendar of upcoming webcasts, as well as instructions for joining the Zoom meeting via the app or by phone. We'd love to see you. That URL again is cfhou.com/weekly. Now here's the weekly episode. Enjoy.
Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for November 12th, 2024. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gail Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we'd like to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gail addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video during the show. We're also streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gail. We're going to start by talking about last week's weekly tittle, which was called Take Out the Garbage. The assignment was to go for a quick, easy win in your home by removing any obvious clutter that might have turned up recently. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook. Who tried the tittle this week? Please let us know in the comments. YouTube viewer CM shared her tittle report in a comment on last week's video. She says, I went in all rooms gathering all important papers that needed shredding and put them all in one bag. Since I was shredding important papers, it was a big relief to not have these scattered all over the house. The shredding of important papers, which had been scattered all around the house, really helped lower my high blood pressure.
And CM and I chatted back and forth about this in the comment section, and she added another comment that I thought was relatable for everybody too. She says, there is clutter, and then there is that particular clutter that raises my blood pressure. Having important documents buried in the clutter so that I cannot retrieve them immediately really upsets me even thinking about it. To avoid that panicky feeling about important documents, I avoided the one decluttering task that should have been the most important thing I organized. But once I got started on that this week, I was able to organize 90% of my vital documents just by gathering them all in one bag, and shredding the outdated copies was the push that got things started. So thank you, Gail, for the suggestion to start with the easy stuff, which for me was the shredding, which I actually find very relaxing. So I'm curious about what specific kinds of clutter raises other people's blood pressure, and also what parts of decluttering actually relaxes them. So she avoided the task that made her the most worried, which was making her more worried. And we all act against our own self-interest sometimes, but once she faced the fear and went about gathering the docs that she was worried about, she relaxed. I'm sure we can all relate to that, being afraid to face the thing that needs the most attention. Just think of CM next time you feel that way, and use her example of doing something scary but getting relief from facing it, and see if you can do the same. I think it's a good, she's giving us a good model of helpful behavior.
Brenda in Tucson says, found my car title this week just in time to transfer.
Oh, woohoo. That's always a good one. Congratulations.
And CJ reports, I made a pass through the house targeting the trash/recycling, etc., which made it all less overwhelming and successfully led to clearing off many visible surfaces, especially near the entry we use. It made such a nice impression that hubby was wowed enough to promise to treat the kitchen counter next to the stove as lava, only used for meal prep. That's great. The counter is lava.
Well, and that's great that, you did work without involving him, but the work impacted him enough to suggest a behavior change, which is great. That's wonderful. Good job. That's got to feel like a big accomplishment. That's what we're going for here.
Deborah says, I used to be so organized with paper, but now it's become a scary behemoth. I think she meant now. She typed not, but my important documents are all together, but new incoming bureaucracy is scary.
Yeah, yeah. Paper is that fire hose that never actually turns off. And as I have said many times, it's the fire hose that continues to blow long after you're dead and gone. You're still There's still mail coming to your house after you're not there to deal with it anymore. So it is definitely one of those things that you just have to stay on top of in order to feel in control and do what you can to mitigate what's coming to you. And and we talk about paper management all the time because of that very reason. So yeah, we feel your pain. We understand where you're coming from. We totally get it.
Yvonne shared, I got rid of all the junk mail in my home and an old bookshelf I didn't like.
Woohoo! That's like a piece of furniture and a bunch of mail. Woo! That is so the bookshelf, created an open space that you didn't have before, and all that paper being gone has got to feel like a huge, huge accomplishment. I just did an appointment this week where the gentleman that I was working for had some health issues, and his mail had piled up while he was in the hospital and getting treated and things. And so there was a huge amount of political mail and medical bill mail. There was a lot of stuff. And he was just sort of frozen about being able to start it. And so I spent 3 hours sitting at a table, opening and looking at and discarding mail, and ended up with 4 bags of recycling and a little,
Yeah,
half an inch stack of paper that was important.
this much stuff that actually needed his attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, it is true that a lot of what comes in the mail is not necessary to keep. And it just requires the, minute and a half or 30 seconds sometimes to look at it to determine that it is not something important, to open it and go, yes, that's really an advertisement. And even though it's from my bank, it's an advertisement for
Hmm.
insurance, and throw
Yeah.
it away. Right. And so, yeah, it's just one of those, you got to sit there and do it. And you don't have to sit and do it all in one sitting, but you do have to constantly be rerouting that stuff out into the trash or recycle.
Pat says, I had a very large pile of recycle in my small kitchen, filled the recycling bin, feels great.
Right. And that's the thing about, we collect the recycling in the house with the intention of sending it away or getting it out to the recycle bin. And we don't do that extra step. And then it doesn't take long for it to pile up and fill up, particularly in a small kitchen, right? A mound of recycling or a big trash can full of recycling takes up a lot of space. And so, if you don't want your small kitchen to be overwhelmed, getting a lot to the recycling bin is an important step. Good job. I'm sure that felt like a woo, look how wide open my kitchen actually is now that it's all gone.
Let's see. Rowan says, I am working on my new mantra. Only touch it once. So much more efficient in dealing with stuff.
Oh, good. It's forcing you to make a decision when you touch it, which is great. Yeah, there's definitely something to gain from that.
Yeah. I wonder though, do you ever get tripped up and is there anything that is it frustrating when you can't when something won't won't cooperate with that
Yeah,
with the
yeah, yeah.
mantra,
Yeah, I mean, it like all things, it doesn't work 100% of the time. And there are some
right?
things that you just can't, in the moment, you can't make a decision about. And the trick is to have that pile be as minimal as possible, basically. And if you get stuck on something, to stop. One that trips you up and you can't make a decision about it, then stop and go to something else that is easier to get through, and make some progress somewhere else while you're mulling the original question in the back of your mind and seeing if you can circle back to it later. Ed,
Um,
somebody's hand is up.
yeah. Okay, let me I'm gonna ask you to CG, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you
Go
hear me?
ahead. Yes, go
Yes, we
ahead.
can.
A few weeks ago during Take Back Drug Day,
Mm.
I went through my bathroom to get rid of all the old drugs that I had. I had a couple illnesses over the past several years, and I filled four-gallon bags with old medications,
Wow.
vitamins, ointments, liquid medications, over-the-counter drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't drive, and I closed the bags up and put them in another big bag, and I took them on the bus with me.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm telling you, I have so much room in my bathroom drawers. And
Wonderful.
and I've been meaning to do this for the past couple of years, but I would not go to the Take Back Drug Day. They have it about twice a year.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
finally I said, you have got to go and do this. So I am so happy that I have so much room now in my bathroom drawers.
And congratulations and thank you for being responsible about recycling it so that they deal with it and recycle it responsibly, and that way you don't have to worry about it and you're not having to flush it or stick it in the landfill. Let them do what they do with it to make it, you know, be trashed responsibly. And so good on you. That's a great one. That is so great. And we don't realize how much you accumulate, especially if you're treating an illness, how much leftover meds you accumulate and you just keep sticking them in drawers and cabinets, right? And then when you go to pull it all out, you can't believe how much stuff is there. And
I
so I'm sure it was a big shift,
I was shocked at how much stuff I had.
right? You just
Yeah.
get used to it being there, don't you? So good on you. I'm so proud of you. We're clapping for you. Yay. That was a great
Thanks.
one.
Thank you,
Thanks.
CG. Okay, let's see, one more tittle report, and then we'll get on with our main topic. M says, I cleared papers amounting to about a foot-high stack from my desk area, but still have to double check the stack in case there's something in it I need to keep.
Okay. Well, so is that something that you can like flip quickly? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's probably not very much that you need to keep. So, go for it. Get it out of there. If you've made the stack and cleared it off, you're that much closer to being done. So, yes, it'll be quick. Exactly. All right, go for it.
Excellent. Okay, let's move on to our main topic. We're back to what we were doing last week, which is answering your questions. We get a lot of questions through our surveys and in the chat during our webcasts and email and so forth. And we're eager to take them on. So these are, questions that don't quite merit a full episode, one at a time. But they're covering a lot of ground we hope we haven't covered in too much in previous episodes. So first question is from CEE, that is, who asks, well, we have an initial C who frequently writes to us, and then also CEE.
Yes, it's true. We have a collection.
How do I convince myself to let go of unnecessary paperwork? This is very relevant to lots of people who've already commented today. Security issue with paperwork, probably overthinking what's important.
So if security is your issue, then you really want to find a local shredding company that has free drop-off shredding hours. Most of those companies have a few hours or days each week that if you drive to their facility, they will let you drop off things for free or for a minimal amount of money. So if you're worried about security, either spend money to get things shredded or find a local place with the free drop-off hours and shred it that way. If you know it's shredded, then your security issue is over. So you can address worrying about it by making sure that you find an easy way for you to go and shred things regularly. And that'll address the issue. Once it's gone, once it's shredded, once you see the machine grind it up with the teeth, then poof, you don't have to worry about it anymore. So, and I would investigate a little bit to don't just shred everything in a panic. Do a little research about what you feel like is the most bothersome to you. Set some parameters around, does it have my social? Does it have account numbers on it? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and what's your level of comfort? Because we've talked about this before, so I don't want to beat a dead horse. But if the only thing on there is your name and address, you can pull off the piece that has the name and address on it and throw that in your shredding, or don't, because the fact is your name and address are available publicly lots and lots and lots of other places. And
particularly if you own your house, you're on
right,
public real estate records.
and people who are interested in stealing your identity are not digging through trash cans. They're not going through bags of paper.
To get your name and address.
They are using electronic modes of attack, which your shredding is not going to help with.
Right. But I understand the idea that you don't want to throw your social security number out in the trash. You don't want to throw your account numbers out in the trash. And so
right, or even I certainly shred bank statements, even,
Mm,
just because I don't want, it feels like there's a privacy thing there that,
yeah.
I don't want out
Even
there.
beyond security, right?
Right.
You don't want to have that be not be private. So yeah,
Okay.
but that solution is really all those companies that do document shredding have drop off hours that are usually free, and you just have to find the place that's near you and figure out what their hours are.
Okay. Our next question comes from Ernestine, who said, I'd like to know how to help a friend who lives in another town to get out of her overwhelm without physically going to her home. We are both elderly, late 70s to early 80s. Neither of us is able to drive out of town much, and her daughter yells at her to get rid of things.
And we all know how effective it is when you yell at somebody to get rid of things. That works so well. Let me just say, not the best approach. My first question was, does she have resources for an organizer? So hiring help is her best option right now. And an organizer is the best person for the job because they're, objective, third party, not invested as her daughter is clearly. If she can't afford that, then you might think through others that she could hire or ask for help. Does she belong to a church community or is part of a craft group or a friend group that might offer some help? If she's feeling overwhelmed, then she definitely needs someone there besides her daughter to help her face things and to stay motivated. You could even FaceTime her so that you can keep her company and talk to her while she works on things. You both can decide together what to work on. She can show you things that way and ask questions or tell you stories about the stuff. You can remind her when she wanders off track and suggest ways to handle things. Put that in the trash bag, put that in the donation bag. Just having company with the ability to talk through things with her makes a huge difference. And there's no driving involved if you use Zoom. So if neither of you want to drive, then FaceTime or Zoom is your best solution. If you can just get help so that she can learn how to use Zoom or FaceTime, and then you guys can be on the calls together, and nobody has to get in a car, and you can be gentle and kind with her while you help her work on it. I think that would be the easiest solution for you in the short term.
Yeah,
Good luck with that, and tell us how it goes.
and start small. If she's overwhelmed, say
Mm,
let's meet on Wednesday for 10 minutes, and you process some stuff, and I'll be right there in Zoom holding your hand
yeah, for you to ask
and
questions and.
help her take those first steps to get out of her state of overwhelm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be really helpful. And, because you guys are friends, it's going to make it so much easier for you to have conversation with her, to ask her questions about it. And, you can be supportive and be her friend about it. And it will be much more relaxing and um, easier for her to talk about what's happening for her and how it feels and what she's enjoying or not enjoying. All of her reactions, she'll be more comfortable sharing them with you because you're her friend and she's known you for a long time. So that's one way for you guys to do it. I hope it goes well and come and tell us about it.
Suzanne commented, the tellers, sermoners, threateners, oh, sorry, yellers, sermoners, threateners have no clue how they shut down the person who is decluttering or struggling.
I know it's so ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
when has this ever worked for you? When has yelling ever made this situation better? When has lecturing or screaming or having a fit, how has that ever motivated anybody to make this different? It just doesn't. Maybe
never,
for a
ever,
minute.
ever.
Yeah, but never, ever, ever does it really work. It's just ridiculous. And it's such an old, like, it just reflects the fact that you've been having this argument for a long time and you're yelling and shaming somebody. And then you expect that that is going to make a shift in behavior. It's like, yeah, have you not learned that that really doesn't solve the problem because you're still yelling and it's still not different? Hmm. Just my thought about that.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Okay, Evelyn asked, how has your job as an organizer changed over the years? Do you think that people have more stuff today than when you started your business?
This is an interesting question, I thought. I don't think people have more stuff than when I started. I do think that as baby boomers have been aging over this time, more and more stuff gets released into the river of stuff. I think the donation locations are overwhelmed with how much stuff is getting released, and they have trouble managing all the stuff that comes their way. If it's a resale shop and they have enough volunteers to help process, they can handle more things that are incoming, but this might not be the case. It gets harder and harder to find an estate sale company that has time to prep and run a sale. I have clients waiting for months to get on someone's schedule for a sale.
Wow.
The latest estate sale that cleared a 2-story house and a garage after we had moved a moving truck full of furniture and keepsakes to the family members took a month of working every day to prep for the sale. The sale sold a huge amount of stuff, and we still needed a junk hauler to pull out the rest of the stuff to empty the house. And that was just one house. So that reflects the volume of things that are all being barfed onto the river of stuff right now at the same time. There's a lot, and there's only so many outlets to deal with it. As baby boomers downsize and pass away, they're releasing an avalanche of stuff. And it's not all going to the family because the families have their own houses full of things. There's a growing amount of stuff being released, even as the audience to take those things is shrinking. And the generations coming behind that want to be more flexible and less tied down with things than how their parents and grandparents lived. So the river of stuff is really swelling right now. I would say that's how it's changed over the 17 years I've been doing this, that it's just getting the volume that's being released is just getting bigger and bigger. I don't have any, official stats on that. It's just my feel from the client work that I've done. Yeah.
Anecdotal
Anecdotal.
observations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Ria asks, do both of you strive to be more minimal, or are you content just keeping the overflow moving out regularly? Do you schedule regular decluttering, or is it second nature to you? What tips do you have for reaching satisfaction with your progress, or to push to new levels of less?
We'll be right back.
Face Your Ears is a podcast for musicians of all levels working in their own home studios, eager to bring their creative ideas to life.
Join us as we explore the ins and outs of music creation in an approachable and engaging way.
Each episode features a blend of technical tips, practical advice, and insightful anecdotes, making it both informative and fun.
Listen to the Face Your Ears podcast on your favorite podcast platform today.
I would say that neither of us are minimalists, especially based on the stuff that moved with me recently.
Accurate.
Right. But I do regularly let go of stuff, and it's second nature. It is second nature to me. So I don't need to schedule appointments with myself or anything like that. I'm satisfied when after that I'm done doing an area, if the look is clean and the stuff is easy to see and reach, and I don't feel like whatever space that I'm working in is overcrowded. I always want to see airspace, gaps in between, nothing overstuffed. So I aim for how it makes you feel. That's what I do. And if you feel better and you feel more relaxed and like you can breathe, it's probably in a good place. I clearly have enough to fill up a house, but I also, like airspace and clear floor and, I hate closets that are overstuffed, hate that. So I do have a level beyond which I find it distressing. And so I do, when it starts to look like that, then I dial it out. I clear it out because I don't like it feeling overstuffed. And I have more to do on this end of the move, and my knee is just impacting my ability to clean up quickly. But, I still have stuff that needs to go now because it's not going to actually work in this house, and I need to release it and move it on. So
And
that's where what about you? Yeah.
I'm a mixed bag. There are areas of my life where I'm a genuine minimalist, like clothing.
That's true.
I mean, I could pare my wardrobe down even more, but it already fits comfortably in the closet and dresser that are allocated for it.
Right.
And so I have a little more variety than I need, but not much. And what else? What other areas? I mean, like decorative stuff, I'm really a minimalist. I prefer less decoration to more.
Then more, yeah.
I'm a recovering maximalist on kitchen equipment because
Right.
I never met a kitchen
Gadget you
appliance
didn't
or
want.
doodad I didn't want. And it's like, No, there's no reason you shouldn't have at least 10 baking sheets. No, I don't really have that many, but
Uh,
it,
but
it, that's
but that's your area of you're more likely to accumulate there. You were always more likely to accumulate in the kitchen.
yeah. I,
But
I,
you've shifted about that, right?
yeah, oh yeah,
So,
definitely. Oh yeah, definitely. Like I constantly remind Jaime that we do not need to add anything. We can replace if there is something that isn't doing its job well in the kitchen, we can replace it, but
yeah, yeah.
we're not just getting one more, except ice cream scoops, where he keeps searching for the perfect ice cream scoop. It has to work well and also be able to go through the dishwasher. And
Ah,
those almost seem to be mutually exclusive properties. So,
uh-oh. All right.
okay, let's go on.
Okay.
Selena asked, since Gail recently became a homeowner, what is her stance on how close you can approach the Pinterest perfect idealized images of home decor and interior design when planning your space when you're also a crafter? It's a struggle
Ooh.
because we crafty people love aesthetics, but the mess that comes along somewhat defeats the purpose.
You're so right. It's a delicate balance for crafters, isn't it? No crafter is a minimalist when it comes to craft supplies, no active crafter anyway. If you want a craft area that looks Pinterest perfect, then you have to set up an interesting room with all the storage that you need for supplies. Then you have to be vigilant cleaning up after you do any creative work. So that means your tendency to jump into a project without wrapping up and putting away the previous project has to be controlled. In other words, constantly resetting your studio space is needed to get back to the Pinterest perfect setup. And if that doesn't seem like your personality, then I think now's the time to forget that idealistic home decor look and find a happy compromise between Martha Stewart and your crafty heart. I'm sure you can find a reasonable balance between the two. So, concentrating on the underlying room layout for functionality and the storage systems for supplies and adding some creative flair will get you a good compromise, I'm sure. I'll show you mine when I'm done. It's not done yet, but there is some amount of how do you access your supplies? How do you know what you have in order to do your creative thing? And how do you make the room look nice? And so there's a balance to be struck there for sure.
That also connects back to the previous question and the idea of minimalism, like minimalism and the artist. Maybe that we could do a whole episode on that. I don't know, and just let people talk about their own struggles there, because
Mhm.
to really be a minimalist, I should pare down my art supplies to only what I use, only what I use regularly, even.
Mhm.
And if there's anything that I'm not expecting to experiment with again, let it go. But I also have to balance that with my own tendency. We talked about this maybe last week about I like to work on numerous projects at the same time. And
Mhm. And a lot of crafters do.
if I wanted to be really, really, really super minimalist about it, I would finish one thing at a time and move it along so it can be out of here, off to the person who commissioned it or off to the person I'm planning to give it to. But I'd really rather surround myself with 20 works in progress. That's
And
my
that's not that reflects a creative bent, I think.
a
I've
process.
heard
Yeah,
that from other
your
people too. It's
process, your
like
creative style,
you
whatever
can
you
only
call it.
work, you can only work on this one for so long before you get distracted or before you run out of creative juice over here and you have to go over there to tap the juice again. It's like switching between the projects is part of your creative method. And there are a lot of people, a lot of artists have talked to me about that exactly what you're describing.
Okay, I want to share a couple point counterpoint in the chat.
Okay.
Naomi says Pinterest is the tool of the devil. And I know that Naomi probably, I mean, knowing Naomi, she probably had tongue in cheek a little there.
Right.
But Deborah says beauty can be an inspiration. Pinterest has its role. I want pretty minimalism, and Pinterest can
Mm,
get me motivated.
there you go. All right. And and it is a goal to see some examples of what it could be, what could be there, what it could be like. And always when you have a fresh, clear, clean setup that looks like a Pinterest picture, the only way it stays that way is if you constantly reset, because you're going to live in that space. It's not you don't live in a static photo. So there you are constantly agreeing to reset, 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 so that whatever you pulled out gets put away, whatever you started gets, finished, whatever gets pulled out to work with gets put up back in its space, that you have to go through that process of resetting the apartment to the Pinterest photo look. And if that's important to you, so that it supports the minimalist that you're aiming for, go for it. If that's what generates your motivation to reset your apartment and keep it clear, awesome. Then you have an internal motivation there.
Creative Planet Janet says controlled creativity, in quotes,
Yeah.
is an oxymoron. And Ginger says, I have a theory that those Pinterest posts don't show all the stuff stacked to the side out of the pictures.
Right.
And I was just thinking about, museums. And I think I've mentioned before that I once dated someone whose house was like a museum. I felt like I was living in a museum because it was so tidy all the time.
Right.
But then I was thinking, in real museums, if you ever were to go through that door that says,
Staff only.
employees only, and into the back, you would find out what the inner workings of a museum really look like. And it's not, all these tidy and sparse displays. There's always a whole lot more going on there. So I don't think it's a failure when our homes do not look like museums.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
M says, my sister's house is like a static photo. It is actually scary because you feel afraid to touch anything.
And she must spend a huge amount of time keeping it that way, right? Like she is putting a lot of energy and physical energy and mental energy into keeping it clear. And that's where she wants to spend her time. Awesome. She gets the museum look, she gets the Pinterest photo look house. And when she reaches an age where she will not feel like managing that, she may not be happy because the house isn't always going to look perfect. And so be prepared when she starts to melt down.
Okay, next question comes from Dulce, who asked, what is the best way to utilize under the stairs storage closet? Too musty and damp for clothes and awkward for everyday storage. And she also asked, best garage storage ideas, cabinets or shelves?
Oh, and I answered the under the store question. So talking about under the stairs storage. Going under the stairs always involves some bending down. The further you go in, either you go in and around and it starts to go down, or it's always an awkward place. You can't always stand in it depending on how big the under the stair storage is. It's always this really awkward place. So it's the perfect place to store things that you are a low use for you, that you don't get to all the time. Like, let's put the camping gear in there. Let's put the holiday decor in there. Let's put cleaning tools like a mop and a broom. If it's really damp and musty, then I'd get some damp rid to put in there and see if you can run a fan or a dehumidifier in there to keep it dried out. But I'm also curious about what the source of the dampness is, if there's a leak somewhere or if something's not properly sealed. If it needs some attention to finish it out and resolve the dampness, it's worth the repairs to make the space work better for you. But even without the dampness issue, under the stairs is always awkward access. And it's best to store things that you don't need very often. It's not good for daily use kind of things. That means those things that are not taking up space in easier to use storage spaces in your house. Then if you move like holiday decor out of the guest room closet and you put it under the stairs in that closet instead, then you freed up the guest room closet for other stuff that you have better access, that's easier to access and you use more frequently.
Get it more
Yeah.
often.
And so think about things that are stored in easy to access closets right now that you don't get all the time, and see if those can move under the stairs instead. and be okay in the dampness. And again, I would, if it's damp and musty, I would see what work you need to do to correct that situation so that it's not damp and musty anymore. Okay.
Do you have a quick answer to best garage storage ideas, cabinets or shelves?
That's a
Or-
look thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, you need sturdy either way. And so plastic shelving doesn't work because it doesn't last long term. It's always, hot or cold in the garage. That affects the strength of the shelves, and then the weight on the shelves will bow the shelves out over time. And so you don't want to use cheap ones in there. The cabinets, if you have kids and you have a lot of toxic chemicals in there, then cabinets with doors is probably a good thing with little kids. But it really, does it bother you to look at open shelves with things on them in the garage or not? And if it doesn't bother you, then you can have open shelves. And if it does bother you, you can add cabinets. And cabinets have the same issue in the house as they do out in the garage. Can you reach into them? Can you see into them? Slapping a bunch of cabinets on the wall and then you have to get on a ladder to get to some of them doesn't really help you. So it needs to be cabinets that are not too deep, not too hard to get to, not too hard to see into, if you want to put things behind closed doors. Just my quick thoughts.
all right. Aunt Juju asked us to talk about how to integrate a family member's possessions into my home when they come to live with me. What limits to impose or factors to consider?
This is a really good question. First off, whatever reason you've agreed to share your home, you're inviting a new permanent resident to the house. They're going to need some space of their own. So how much space will be dictated by the size of your house and how many people already live there. But if you've added in a grown adult, then the existing spaces will need to be redivided to accommodate the new person. Maybe two kids need a room together so the adult can have a room alone. Maybe a craft room has to collapse to give them room. You should also get some amount of closet to give to them so they have closet space and bathroom shelving. And on their side, they have to understand they're moving from a home to a room rental situation, basically. They'll need to outfit the room or rooms that you offer for their own use. And then the rest of their furniture and other belongings will need to find new homes. They need to pack with their destination in mind, not just pack up everything they want to keep and expect you to find a place to stash it. It's an important distinction. They will want to keep most of the things that were special in their old house, but they can't bring all that stuff to your house. If they do, it'll shut down the functioning of the house for everybody, not just them. If this is creating extreme duress around leaving things behind, then you might opt for a storage unit until they get used to living without all that they had before. Then you can work on emptying the storage unit slowly without bringing most of it home with you. This will also help with the transition if it happens in a hurry because of health or financial reasons. And if you suddenly have to move somebody in and they don't have time to think about it and they don't have time to prep and there's no time or space to make decent decisions, then moving what you need into outfit the spaces are going to be in and moving the rest into storage at least gives you the break that you need to then go back and work on it. Just keep in mind that slowly filtering through the leftovers is always the ultimate goal if you use storage, and that it's a big, imagine somebody saying to you, okay, you're moving in with me, you get one room, you get two rooms, you get a half a closet, we're going to give you, you don't have your own bathroom, or you do, but there's stuff in it already, you get, two shelves. Like, imagine someone telling you, you now get to live in 10% of what you've been accustomed to living in for the last several decades and move in with us. And therefore, you're leaving 95% of your belongings behind. And how shocking that is and how overwhelming that is as a decision-making process. And so have a little grace for how distressing it is for them. And they need to understand up front that they can't pack everything that they want. They have to pack what will fit into your house, into the spaces you've allotted. And then there needs to be a secondary plan for everything that's left. And what that plan looks like, it can't be, we're going to put it all in your garage. That is not an option. That's not the solution. So it really needs to be a discussed plan about how are we going to empty the rest of the house? What are we going to do with the rest of the stuff? you're not going to move out of my house into a larger place again. Therefore, the pivot point has arrived where you have to separate yourself from your belongings and figure out what absolutely has to stay with you and be accommodated in the space that you've been allotted, and what all and how are we going to dispose of the rest. Such a hard process. It's really a hard process to ask somebody to, their life is changing so much that now they're going to live with family members in a couple of rooms where they've been living alone in their own space for decades. And that shift is mentally and emotionally challenging for them. And so it's a big shift to make, and anything you can do to help. And I would say, don't let them bring, like, once it gets to your house, it'll be much harder to make it go. So when you're packing, have them focus on, okay, here's the bedroom. I want the furniture to go in this space. I want the bed to be here. I want the dresser to be here. Draw a map, help them see what will fit and what won't fit. Focus on what will actually come and be set up into your new home, and just call it round one, stage one, whatever, so that they don't freak out about, now I'm going to leave all this stuff behind. You can just say, this is round one of us moving what we want into this house, into the apartment, into the bedroom, whatever the situation is. And then we'll come and deal with the rest of this later. And that gives you some breathing room, and hopefully will minimize the flow of things that come with them when they come. And then see if, the separation turns off the endowment effect. They've been living with all that stuff and it's all super important to them, but they will forget, they will be separated from it. It will not feel super important to them, all of it, over time. And so you'll find the remaining, they'll ask for, where's the fill in the blank painting? Where's the fill in the blank keepsake from my parents? Where's the fill in the blank, my favorite glass? And they'll ask for those few things that maybe didn't get caught or brought in the first time. Then hopefully that endowment effect will fade for everything else. And then you guys can work with it, deal with it, and, make some thoughtful choices about how to relocate it, rehome it all. Or, having a estate sale in the space.
Naomi says the possibility of having to be moved into a relative's house is a good argument for going minimalist now, while you still have control over what remains in the essential core of possessions.
100%. Absolutely. It's definitely, it's a slow term preparation for that change in living environment. It's a good point.
I was going to add, also, for the person accepting someone into your home, well, you're doing a good thing, a kind, compassionate thing, and you might also still need to negotiate and compromise to make it really work for everyone. And I had a great experience when I moved into David's house. I moved in with a friend who had a house and had a spare bedroom, and was willing to share office space and such. And he was willing to replace some of his stuff with my stuff that was better for the purpose. He already had a desk in the living room, but mine was nicer furniture and had more space. And then we also kept you remember the supply cabinet I used to have?
Oh, yeah. That was in the guest room.
We kept that thing, and he got rid of something he'd had before and just rolled his small stash of office supplies into my enormous stash of office supplies. all a thing of the past now.
Right.
Okay, let's see. How much time? We still have time for at least a couple more questions, so let me see what was next. Peggy asked, how do you handle a truly hoarding situation?
So this is one where, this is not my area of expertise. I have worked a little bit on hoarding, and I've worked for other organizers who do specialize in hoarding. But basically, if I think this is truly a hoarding situation, then I'm probably going to try to refer it to another organizer who specializes in that. I'm also going to suggest the presence of mental health counselors, social workers, somebody that's there to be an advocate for the person's mental health and well-being during that process. I think if they're calling in an organizer to help with the hoarding situation, there's probably something happening that's triggering that. We're about to lose the house. The homeowners association is trying to kick us out. The city is trying to condemn the property, blah, blah, whatever, fill in the blank, right? So there's usually some trigger that requires intervention. And I would not try to take that on by myself. I would definitely try to bring in other professionals and work with, whoever, the family, the client. I mean, the person who lives there is the client, but I'm sure there'll be other parties involved. And so it's definitely something that I wouldn't try to do by myself. I would bring in other people that have more expertise and make sure that the client has mental health support, because I'm not that best person for that either. When you get into a truly hoarding situation, it requires an all hands on deck approach, and it definitely requires teamwork. And I would do my best to assemble a team, basically.
Okay. Carla wrote, I need to come up with storage solutions that will work in our RV and also the place we rent in the winter. The challenge is we never stay the winter in the same place, so our organization solutions need to be flexible.
Off the top of my head, I think you need storage that's compact and easily carried. So stackable would be good too. If they're stackable and compact, they can be stacked on a dolly or in a garden rolling cart for transfer in and out of the winter place. If you want them to go back and forth from the RV to the rental place, then shoebox sizes, boot box size would be good. Several boxes stacked by the ultimate room type would work. Kitchen boxes get transferred to the kitchen, bathroom item boxes go to the new bathroom, etc. Avoid large totes. They're just hard and heavy to move around, and they need a larger space to store them in either the RV or the winter house. And a few 2 or 3 drawer rolling carts might be easy enough to manage and transfer back and forth. That's what I got off the top of my head. Basically, you want it to be able to be, you don't want to have to unpack or unbuild something. So you want it to be stackable and parkable in the RV, and you want to be able to pick it up, put a lid on it, and take it into the winter place and set it up immediately for use. And so that means it needs to be small and portable, stackable, transportable. Like you need to be able to put it on something and roll it out. And so aim for small and stackable. And a few things with rolling wheels, which in the RV, I'm sure have to be like strapped down or strapped in or something so they don't go rolling away while you're driving down the road. But that's what I came up with off the top of my head.
Okay, PJ said, I've just experienced the opposite of what you talk about in many videos. I've been lucky enough to upsize. I moved from a 45 square meter cottage to a 130 square meter apartment. The cottage was very cramped, and over 6 years there, I donated or threw away half of my stuff, which I was really proud of. Now that I'm in the bigger place, I'm worried that I'll start to fill it up again. I have loads of space for new pot plants and bookcases. How can I keep a check on myself and keep the volume of stuff manageable?
I would place all of your things into the new space and then promise yourself to live with the clear, unused airspace for a bit before you start to add new things. Maybe you can spread out some of those things that were previously more crowded into a more airy arrangement in the new place. Then wait and see what you feel like you need to add into the new place. Also, you have to give yourself permission to enjoy the new larger space. You can downsize again if you need to do so. Just slowly add, asking after each addition, does this really enhance my life? Is it worthy to fill up some of my space here? Keep checking in if the new additions are making you happy or are starting to make you feel crowded, and then enjoy your new place. I think you put yourself in this position you have space, you don't have to fill it. It can just be space. Or if you decide that something needs to come to help you function better in this new space, then ask yourself if what you're getting, is it really going to enhance your life? Is it going to make it easier for you to function or not? And make sure it passed muster before it comes home.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add, Ed, there?
No, not really. Well, maybe I do. I'm thinking ahead to my next move. We're in a really small house, really small, like I don't know. It might be 800 square feet. It might not. I'm not sure. And our next place, I want more dedicated space for doing artwork. I'd like to set aside a space so it's not, I'm not having to share that function between two things. I guess the main thing that struck me about the question was what's missing from your life? And if there's something you've wanted to do and you were constrained from doing it by that cramped space you lived in previously, then by all means,
Yeah, make space for
make
it.
space for that in your life. But if there's not, try to really just live with the empty space for a while. Live with the less full, I should say less full space, because we know it's not empty. There's stuff in there. Live with a less full space for a while, and then only when something presses you, like I really, really would like to get back to my knitting or whatever it is, then take some action to get more stuff in there. Try to resist the urge to just fill it because it's empty.
Right. What about ginger?
Well, actually, there's one we have to get to because the tittle is going to hinge on this one. So Lala says, it's obvious to me that I need to change my mindset about the stuff in my house and everywhere else. Maybe you have some ideas and tips to help me with that. And my first reaction was, yes, go watch our previous 300 videos. There are some ideas and tips in there, definitely.
We have some things to say.
But I'm only kidding. So go ahead. What do you have to say to that?
So a change in mindset is the basic issue for anybody that's struggling with clutter. You have to decide what's a bigger priority for you in your life. Is it more important to live comfortably and easily, or is it more important to hang on to the volume of stuff you own? Is your life about the stuff you own, or is it about having a happy life? Being a hunter-gatherer of stuff makes it seem like the more the better. But at some point you can drown in your acquisitions. Is that the end goal that you want? We need to shift our thinking about the impact of acquiring things and how that enhances or disrupts our lives. After decades of shopping for fun, for stepping up as we earn more and can afford better, as a way to feel good about ourselves, we have to stop to notice what the accumulated lifetime of shopping does to our surroundings and what it does to our mental health. And our entire channel's video library is about aspects of looking at that broader question. So dive into the videos for more help, just like Ed said. And today's title is going to be talking about examining your mindset, because this question is definitely one that we all have to face at some point.
Well, and cheers for Lala. I mean, I didn't want to sound like I was joking at her expense, but yeah, recognizing that you need to change your mindset about your stuff. That's an important step.
Absolutely.
And I think there are a lot of people who stay stuck because they don't accept that they need to change their mindset in any way.
They keep thinking that it isn't about reducing, it's just about making the stuff shuffle better.
Yeah, if I just organize it better,
it'll be enough.
Yeah.
And they spend a bunch of time doing that, and then they realize that that's some of the problem, but not all the problem.
It's still not working. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's take Ginger's as the last question. Ginger says, you may have done this before, but can you describe how you might help someone like me work through a decluttering project via FaceTime or a Zoom call? I may need a coach to hold me accountable if I don't get on it soon.
The best way to work with a professional organizing virtually, like that's totally how somebody can help you, is get an organizer and get a virtual appointment so that you're on some medium, as you said, FaceTime or Zoom. I do this with a Zoom call, and I can really work with people just fine because cameras are so excellent these days. One of my clients is in London and we've never met in person. She joins a Zoom call and we talk through her paperwork, or she shows me what's in a pile and we talk about how to handle the stuff. Then she does it as I watch and give her suggestions. Another virtual client lives in California, and I helped the couple to get through some contentious packing sessions while they were having difficulty deciding what to pack and what to release. All three of us were on camera together, and I asked strategic questions in order to help them jointly decide what to keep, what not to keep, without devolving into arguments, hopefully. It worked really well to have an objective voice in the middle of those conversations, keeping them focused and considerate of each other, and they made it through the move. So being on Zoom and talking through your organizing challenges, basically functioning as a body double while you work on something, having someone to ask, you can ask me questions as I work with you. And what do I do with this? Where do you think you should go? And so you can show me stuff. We can talk about what it is and what the challenges are. I can make suggestions and you can go execute all while we're on Zoom together. And so it works really well as a solution, I think, for people that either don't have the time or the energy to put into having an organizer come directly to their home and work with them. It's a good alternative.
Okay, we are just about out of time. So we're going to be back next week at our usual time. That is Tuesday, November 12th. We still need to pick a topic. So watch your email for an announcement of that, or Meetup. Meetup will also share an announcement of that with you. Gail, why don't you give us the tittle?
The tittle is adjust your mindset. This week's assignment is to try an exercise aimed at shifting your mindset about some of the stuff in your home. We encourage you to experience with any or all of these approaches. You can confront negative emotions. Do you associate feelings of anxiety or loss with decluttering your stuff? Just like CM was describing earlier, she feels anxious. Process those emotions through writing, another creative outlet, or a conversation with a trusted friend. You can set aside sentimentality. Explore your feelings about an item that you're keeping for sentimental reasons and see why that's important to keep and how you feel about it. Just say no. Consider discarding or donating an item that you received as a gift, a purchase you regret, or anything that you're keeping out of guilt or a sense of obligation. It's time to say no to those. You can focus on functionality. Reflect on how often you use or enjoy the items that share your space. Are they paying their way in practical use? Or are there better ways that you could use the space that they occupy? Or visualize the benefits. Think about how decluttering will improve your health, your safety, the ease of movement around your home, your peace of mind. CM, our example from earlier, CM definitely got a peace of mind out of finally doing the work that she wanted to do, grabbing the papers she wanted to grab and making shredding out of the ones that she knew needed to go. And the end result was a huge amount of relaxation and peace of mind. So visualize what you'd like to have at the other end and see if that can help you get going as well. And then come back next week and tell us all about it.
All right. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming meetings, we invite you to join the Meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook, or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from our audience, so please keep your questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through the website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
There you go. We're so glad that you came. Thank you so much. And we said it earlier, if you need some additional help, there's more videos on YouTube. So you can dive out to YouTube and find all kinds of things where we're talking about clutter from all different directions. And we will look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.